Welcome to Mindful Life 104. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for joining me. I am streaming live right now over on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Feel free wherever you are to hit that like button. Allow the like button to feel your presence. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Join the conversation wherever you are. The conversation on Facebook isn't as lively as the conversations usually are over on TikTok. Head over to my YouTube channel and be sure to subscribe there because I drop videos pretty regularly over on YouTube and they usually are pretty well done. So you can head over there and you can take in all previous of the 103 Mindful Lives. If you have missed any of those and you're interested to find out what did they talk about in the previous ones, well, there are 103 other ones and my YouTube channel is there. Nathan Springer, you can subscribe. Good night, Riri. What's the topic? The topic is protests and police killings. Exactly, there's no right way to protest, says Shadow Apprentice. Suffering the public to protest, you never have the population support. I don't deny that, but let's get into some of it. Let's get into some of the details of this matter to see why I think what I think. All right, first up, we have that the parents and those who know these boys are saying that they were good boys. I know this is a mockery for many people, but I pointed out today that the bail amendment bill too, well, we could talk about, well, I spoke about that a while back, but I'll dive back into that another time. Probably not tonight. I'll have to take a refresh on what went on today with the bail amendment bill. I saw that the independent senators were not enough to get them across to pass it, but we'll get into that some other time. But the parents of the boys and the family of the boys that were killed are saying they were good boys. Now, many people mock this and everyone always says that the boys who were killed are good boys and who are the criminals in that case. And okay, I understand why this creates so much mockery, but my problem is at some point in time that may very well be true. There may be them boys not good if they have friends like that. There may be actually some point in time when there may be good boys that were killed by the police. And here's the problem with this. We know already that the police have been found not guilty, but the investigation from the Police Complaints Authority has revealed that the police do in fact engage in attempted extrajudicial killings, and they do blame people for it when they are innocent. So we cannot just take the police word for it and say that these were bad boys that shot at the police, because we are aware that the police do lie about such things. It's not something unheard of. It's not something strange. The family is insisting they were good boys. Okay. Relatives of the three men shot dead by the police on Saturday said yesterday they were innocent, industrious, lovable, and had surrendered with their arms up and knew Jesus. Now, you're hearing some accounts from people speaking about what happened here. And from the accounts that they're saying that the boys did not fire at the police. Police said they received a report about the men seen brandishing guns while in a Toyota Aqua. Officers on duty in the capital said they saw the car, and while attempting to intercept it, they were fired on. Now, this, I think, is something we could get a bit to the bottom of. They said they received a report about men seen brandishing guns. Where did they receive that report? How did they receive that report? Police and bandits are friends. It's a deal gone bad. Can't try to rob the police. Wow. You're speaking like you know a lot about this, Mr. Nobody Care About Men. I cannot say that because I don't know that. And from all accounts, that seems not to be the truth. But in this case, the police said they received a report about men brandishing weapons. As Gregory Aboud said on TV6 News, they probably meet up a roadblock and didn't want to adhere to the instructions. 6 men in an Aqua, how they go in and brandish them guns, but all of a sudden they aren't releasing it. How interesting. Well, I don't know what Gregory Aboud said, but that doesn't matter because the police already gave their statement. The police did not say that it was a roadblock. The police said they received a report about men brandishing guns. Yo, talk heavy about men brandishing guns. So I'd like to know, where was this report received? Was it a phone call? Can they publish the phone call to let us hear who was the person who informed the police that they somehow were able to see men inside of an aqua brandishing guns? And then, by the way, the police found one gun in the aqua. So already we know that the information is false because they weren't brandishing guns. There was one gun. One gun. Now, according to some of the residents, they're saying that the police planted that there. I don't know that to be true. But one gun isn't guns. And if it is one pistol, how were they brandishing one pistol at 3 a.m. in the morning for someone else to see, and to see so well that they're able to call the police and report them? Does anyone else find this very strange? Like the facts of the case as they line up, something seems kind of strange about this. Men brandishing a gun. It's a pistol. A pistol is about yay big. 6 men in a car. What do they do to brandish a gun in an aqua enough for some bystander to see them and to call the police? I'd like to know. This is the account the police gave. The police are saying that they received information, men in a car were brandishing guns, so they went out there. I'd like to know where that information came from. Like, I don't have to find out if it was a confidential informant or anything like that. Of course, you keep your people safe, police, but let us know. Is it a phone call? Was it a phone call? Where did they see the guns brandish? Because according to the story, these boys were coming from a party in Diego Martin and heading to KFC in Port of Spain. Thought the police said they were fired upon. Well, yes, the police said they were fired upon, but the police said they had a reason to intercept or to pay close attention to the aqua in the first place because they received a report about it. Ray says, Nathan, when Jacobs was talking at the presser, clearly he was making it up as he went along. I don't know that for sure. I don't know that for sure, but you can wonder. This, as we well know, triggered some fiery protests out there. Residents in fiery protests over 3 police killings. Fiery scenes were witnessed in the capital city when angry residents of Port of Spain East, including Beetham Garden, Silas and Duncan Street, set debris on fire and blocked roads as a direct response to the killing of 3 men on Saturday morning by the police. Investigators said they were fired upon by the occupants of the car and have shown one of their vehicles riddled with bullets to prove their claims. All right, riddled with bullets. This is our next thing. This is our next thing. Who was the shooter? Because one person in the aqua would have had to shoot. The police vehicle was riddled with bullets. Okay, I would like to see the gunpowder residue on the shooter's hand. I would like for them to explain which seat was the shooter seated in. How did he shoot the police who were behind them when the police vehicle was riddled with bullets? Kyla says, when I was younger, around 11, I saw police plant a gun behind a small tree, then dig it back up. Kyla, I have known people, and I myself have been a witness to some nefarious police activities. Trinidadians know that police are not the most trustworthy people on earth. Terry Allen says, they were fired upon by yet the ones that survived, but yet the ones that survived didn't get charged. Interesting. After that, I never trust officers. Shadow Apprentice says, what is the correct way to respond to gunfire if you're in a moving vehicle? Well, I don't know if you mean as the police, what's their correct way to respond to it. I don't know which one you're asking about. Talk Heavy says, what did the forensic analysis of the bullets that were found in the police vehicle say? Well, we don't have that information. We don't have that yet. Now, the thing that made this protest effective was the coordination. As a civilian, well, I don't know. If you're in a vehicle and bullets are flying, I would suppose you're trying to, if the vehicle is moving, you're trying to move as quickly as possible out of the vicinity. But one of the things that made this protest so effective was the fact that it was this kind of cat and mouse game. That when they went that side, they went the other side, and then they went this side and they went the other side, and then they went this side and they went the other side, and it made this difficult. It made this difficult. But that highlighted something inside of it. I think when you look at this protest, you can see coordination in the protest. This protest wasn't as spontaneous as some or all of us may like to believe. With the protest beginning at 10:30 a.m., police were forced to play a cat and mouse game with residents of Beetham Gardens and Sealots. This was how a senior officer described the situation, as residents of both communities repeatedly attempted to block the roadway despite the presence of police. The protests began along the Beetham Highway where residents attempted to place burning debris, which included tires and mattresses, onto the roadway. However, officers of the Emergency Response Patrol Unit were stationed in the area, reacted quickly and were able to contain the fires. While on this location, Beetham residents then moved to the priority bus route, where they once again attempted to block the roadway. This time, officers of the Interagency Task Force and the Besson Street Police Station responded and took up strategic positions along the bus route. However, while the police were now on these two locations, residents of Sealots came out and blocked the westbound lane of the highway in the vicinity of the walkover. The action here was more successful as police had no intelligence at the time that Sealots residents would be joining the protest. This is coordination. This is coordination. So, looking at this, I see coordination. And that's kind of part of the problem I have. That's kind of the problem I have with this style of protest in the first place. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was recorded as saying, riots are the voice of the unheard. If you do not hear people's voices, they're going to end up rioting. Good night, Shy Panda. Of course, I don't think they would have no, I do not think they would have. But yes, riots, as someone was saying in the earlies, do not actually help your cause. On the side of the rioter, the public, the audience that you are rioting for, that you are protesting for, the audience always perceives violence negatively. The public always takes violence negatively. So if you riot, whatever your cause was that you were rioting for, very likely, most likely, nearly every single study into getting social issues done, nearly every single study has shown it works against whatever your aim was. Violence and rioting doesn't work. But Dr. Williams still had a point. Not Williams, sorry. Dr. King still had a point when he was speaking about riots being the voice of the unheard, because he was not necessarily speaking about it in terms of the rioters. He was speaking about it in terms of the general society. In terms of the general society, it becomes very important to understand that riots are indeed the voice of the unheard as part of the general society. Because as part of the general society, if you do not allow the unheard if you do not hear the cry of the unheard, eventually you are going to end up with these kinds of situations, and you cannot do anything to stop it. And these situations, even though they might not help the rioter themselves, they do not help the country either. They do not help the country either. I'm trying to find one specific article that is missing me here, but I don't seem to be able to pull it up quite yet. And there's an article that I was reading earlier where some members of the Shoguna's business community, some members of the Sanwa business community, they were coming out and they were complaining. They were complaining to the government that whenever these kinds of situations happen, they lose money. Swimcall spoke about losing, was it some hundreds of thousands of dollars? It's a lot of money that was lost. And the country on a whole may have lost millions of dollars in lost productivity. So although these rioters may not get what they wanted done, at the same time, the country suffers. So when Dr. King was saying riots are the voice of the unheard, it wasn't as advice to people who feel unheard that they should go rioting, but advice to a country, to a society, that you should listen to people. And if you have people in your society that keep feeling like they are not being heard, they are going to resort to more extreme measures, such as the riot. So on the resident side in East Port of Spain, it doesn't help them, but on our side, we should be looking for ways to solve these problems because it doesn't help us either. I wonder if it is what 1% child got killed, if the government would respond differently. Very likely. That's the only way to get the government's attention, Positive Radiation says. I don't think it's the only way, but it's one of the main ways. And Sealots and East Port of Spain know that, okay, we may not have much attention in the societal classes, but we have attention in, we may not have much power in the societal hierarchy, but we do have power in terms of where we are located. And that's what they're using. Now, I think the problem here is that on the police side, we don't deal with these matters seriously enough. Wrong article here. 4 officers where am I? 4 officers still on suspension in PC Gilk's death. 8 on desk duty for another shooting. Now, I want to go down in this article and read something here. Guardian Media has also been informed that an assistant commissioner of police in charge of the division at the time of the incident, and this here is speaking about PC Gilks, this here is speaking about the police who shot another police and then made up a story about an innocent man killing the police and launched a manhunt for that man. This is the story we're talking about here. And Guardian Media was informed that an assistant commissioner of police in charge of the division at the time of the incident has been transferred, and a senior superintendent was sent on vacation days after the incident. When he returned, he was no longer assigned to the Western Division. This is the problem. We have senior officers who may have been suspected of criminal wrongdoing. An officer died. They tried to frame a man for murder after allegedly trying to kill the unarmed man, just by the way. If these officers were in charge of this division when all of this nonsense was going on, is their punishment just transferring them? So often police engage in actions that if they were a regular citizen, if they were a regular civilian in the country, they would have been in prison. And their punishment is go to Mayaro and be a police. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. The police is supposed to be a service. And here's the thing. If the police is to act as a service, this is what I keep saying over and over. If the police is to act as a service, they must treat with wrongdoing inside of the service very seriously. No wrongdoing must be allowed to exist inside of that service. If you cover for wrongdoing, then you no longer act like a service, you act like a gang. And I keep mentioning this over and over inside of my lives, that a lot of the police officers in Trinidad and Tobago actually act like the boys in blue gang. They don't act like a police service, they act like a police gang. And here's the problem. Trinidad and Tobago is rampant with gang warfare. Trinidad and Tobago is rampant with gang warfare. We in Trinidad and Tobago know how gangs operate. We know what gangs are about. Gangs know what gangs are about. The fellas out there in all the different gangs, the many gangs Trinidad and Tobago has, they know how to deal with opposing gang members. That's what they do. And if the police remove themselves from acting in a police service manner and start acting in a police gang manner, the gangs are going to react to the police the way they react to other gangs. Off-duty cop shot at. Fake police kill man. Police are investigating a report in which one of its officers was shot at early morning in San Juan. The incident took place around 4 a.m. at the home of a sergeant who is attached to the TTPS. Guess which division? Western Division. So the officer, upon reaching home, saw a vehicle patrolling the road and it opened fire on him, riddled his vehicle with some shots. Okay. I don't know the details of that situation. I don't know everything to do with that. But I think incidents like this would become more and more common if the police continue acting like gangs. The gangs would treat you like a gang and start to do reprisals on you. Listen, I find some people act like they don't understand what goes on in a gang. You as a police, threatening to kill the gang members isn't a threat to them. They are under threat of death all the time. If you're in a gang, 90% of the killings in Trinidad seem to be gang related. These guys are not exactly too worried about dying because they're always worried about dying. So if you as the police seem like, okay, you're playing the game now, it's like everyone is playing Scooch. I don't know how many of you came from that era where you know about Scooch. Where we're playing Scooch. Everyone in this group is playing Scooch. And you're not playing, you're supposed to be the prefect. You're the police. You're supposed to be the prefect. You're not supposed to be playing Scooch. But then the ball ends up by your foot. You pick up the ball and scooch somebody in the head. In their head. I hope you all understand the game of Scooch to understand the example I'm drawing. You're the prefect, you're supposed to be above this. You pick up the ball and scooch somebody in the head. Now everybody who's playing stops and looks at you like, what are you doing? I thought you're not playing. And you're like, no, I'm not playing. I am above this. I am just here to make sure all rules are kept. Okay, they go back to playing Scooch. The ball ends up back by you. You pick it up again and you scooch someone else in their head. How many times do you think you could engage in the game before everyone in the game starts believing that you are part of the game and they start scooching you back? Are you all understanding what I'm saying here? If the police act like they're part of the gang game, people playing the gang game are going to start to play the gang game with you too as a police officer. Now, we don't want that in Trinidad and Tobago. The citizens of this country will not benefit from something like that. We will not benefit at all because we would be in the position where the criminals are abusing us and the police are another band of criminals. We would be surrounded by gangs on all sides. And the only people in Trinidad and Tobago with guns would be all of the gangs. All the good behaving citizens would be unarmed. The police gang have a gun, the AGB have a gun 7, 6s, 9s, all the many, all numbers straight to a trillion. They all have their guns. The innocent citizens have none. Just like the movies I watch. It seems like we're already in this situation. Hopefully, we are not. At least not that bad. Now, the problem though, to go back, I'm going back to the riots themselves. The problem on the resident side though, is that when you engage in activities like this, you open up the opportunity for opportunists to take your loud voice and your frenzied emotion and use it for their own benefit. So, as we read before, the residents of Beetham and Silots coordinated this protest. It was there, and then it appeared there. That's coordination in between those communities. Anyone who has dealt with some of the communities in East Port of Spain knows that very regularly when you see coordination in those communities, it's because there's coordination at another level. So you could end up in a situation where you are legitimately angry for a legitimate reason, but you end up allowing your anger to be used for illegitimate reasons. So in this present situation, as people mock the claims of good boys, to me, looking at the reaction to this, I don't know this to be fact. I'm not putting my head on a block for anyone or anything like this. I think at least some of the boys involved were actually innocent. And that's why I believe the action caused what it did. I don't know for all of them. I actually do believe that some of them involved in this killing were not the top of the criminal hierarchy. That's why I believe some of this did in fact occur. Some of the protests did in fact occur. However, many of those protesters who may have gone out to legitimately air their grievances would have ended up sometimes, or sometimes in this situation itself, becoming part of the tool for someone else's action. And you would be the one punished for it, while sometimes they are not. 8 persons were arrested in that protest action. The problem I have too with the residents and their protest actions very often is that it does not seem very pointed. Tony the Ambassador, questions need to be asked. Was it procedure for them to spray down the car like that? Part of my problem with what the residents do is that it is not pointed. So they hold the country to ransom. That's the way everyone phrases it. The residents of East Port of Spain are holding the country to ransom. And that's kind of true. But what's the ransom fee that they're demanding? So the residents of Beetham, Lavantil, Silots hold the country to ransom. They grab the country and say, if you don't do this, we're going to kill you. But what is the ransom you want paid? The ransom they say they want paid is justice. The problem with that is justice is too vague. If you say justice, the police are going to say, yes, you are going to get justice. So what difference would it have made protesting or not? So we're looking at this present situation. The riots that they did, the protests that they did, the burning and blocking of the streets. What was the purpose of it? What was done by doing that? What did they accomplish by doing that? And that's my take. Why are you doing this if you aren't even accomplishing anything in your mission? Now, I would have understood if you went out and you said, okay, we residents are going to block these roads until you release all the camera footage from Independence Square, because we all know that Port of Spain is in fact widely surveilled. There are lots of cameras in and around Port of Spain. I will not doubt that this entire incident may have been captured on multiple cameras. So how about you go burn the road and block the road and make a demand that they release the camera footage? At least when you hold us to ransom as a country, we know what the ransom payment is. I think the slow justice system causing the police difficulty, yes. The entire thing is miry and mucky, and I understand it causes some of that too. But that's my problem with the residents. I don't understand what I am being held ransom for. Like, you hold up the traffic, you hold up the bus route, no one can pass. What are your demands? You have us at ransom. Make your demands. Another, all officers involved in the shooting were placed on administrative duties. Well, you have to make it. That's what I find as the residents. When the residents do this, I don't know what their demands are. Justice. We want justice. No justice, no peace. But the police are saying they are going to give you justice. So by protesting there, by burning debris in the streets, you aren't making any difference. Okay, burn the debris, demand that the police release footage, demand that the police release fingerprints, demand that the police release ballistics. Okay, make some kind of demand. But the problem there is that requires leadership. And that's often the problem with these kinds of action. It needs leadership to really be effective. Part of the problem with it having leadership, though, is if you're the leader and something bad happens, everyone knows who to point the finger at. So that's why very often these things seem to happen organically. You never see the leader, but very often there are leaders involved, invigorating and pushing things in a direction. My problem is the leadership doesn't seem to have a vision of actually getting a solution here, because I don't know what they're aiming at. I don't understand it. In my opinion, they just did that to trouble the police because nothing changed. FIREY says the 15-year-old who survived shared his side of the story as to what happened. It's on Ian Allane's Facebook. I'll take that in. I didn't see that yet. But I'll say it again. If any of you in the live are residents of those communities, that's the problem. I might be okay with staying in traffic if I know that the residents are blocking the road, demanding that the police release the footage, and the police are not releasing the footage. Then, okay, I will sit in traffic and turn on my AC and take in a podcast. Okay, that's fine. I understand why you are doing this. But if I am in traffic, you are burning debris and blocking the road, and when we ask, what do you want? You say, justice! Okay, how do I give you this? How do I give you this? And I think that's part of the problem they're falling into there in those East Port-of-Spain countries, East Port-of-Spain communities, where they're falling out with the national population, because the national population, I think much of the national population would have some place in their heart for what is occurring in some of those communities where they see the advantage that they are under. The national community has sympathy and empathy for that. But if you're asking us to sacrifice and sit in traffic, etc., etc., make the demands clear. Next time you're burning tires on the highway, blocking the main road and bus route, do up a demand list and put it out, print it out, and release it on the highway so people can at least pick it up. And at least that way people will know that these residents are demanding X. So, for example, when the residents protested and demanded that WASA completes the drainage system that they have there, when they did that, ask the question, Jakers, greetings to you too. When they demanded that, that made sense. And the strange thing is, their demands were met pretty swiftly too. That could make sense. Make your demands. All right, folks. That's all I have for now. Any further questions or comments, or shall we dive out and see each other again? Well, actually, most likely I wouldn't be here for the Mindful Life tomorrow. It might be Friday. I think I might go out tomorrow. Take a little time out of this city. It's been a while. So any further questions, folks? You plan with no point. Huh. Getting kind of stuffy too. On a date? Ha, 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 ha. Of course, why not? I'm a married man. I can date my wife, so why not? Are police trained to stop vehicles without shooting? I don't know. I'm not an officer, so I don't know what their training entails. All right, folks. It was nice. It was nice. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. As per usual, the biggest criminal stars, Juliet says, in It Having Trinidad and Tobago is them police and them. I understand your fervor. That should be part of defensive driving training. I don't doubt that. All right. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you for the next Mindful Live Friday at 9 p.m. Peace out. Peace, 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 peace. Wow. Betas. Nisi, weekend.